Hi, my name is Dominic Rizzi, and we'd like to officially welcome you to the 28th and the final Support Our Seminarians event. We're so glad you're here because we have a wonderful evening planned for you. And with me is Abbot Benedict. Glad you're with us tonight.
Great to be with you, Dominic.
Yes.
And great to be with our listeners and our followers, our supporters of seminarians over many years. Let me open with a prayer to St. Joseph, who Pope Francis has asked us this year to pray to him. And it's appropriate for us when we're talking about seminarians to pray to St. Joseph. Let us pray. To you, blessed Joseph, we turn in all our needs. As you protected and taught our Lord, we ask you to protect and watch over our seminarians. O patron of God's holy church, we ask you to watch over it and urge Christ to call many good men to serve its people as priests. And we ask you to bless our families and give us generous hearts as we support seminarians this evening. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I also join Dominic in welcoming all of you to our 28th annual Support Our Seminarians event. This is the last of the events, but not the end of the support for seminarians that we have been so faithful about for 27 years. Just the end of this type of event, the big dinners that we've enjoyed over these many years. We're all supporters of seminarians. We know the great need for priests in our church, and we will continue to support them. But each of our three entities, the two dioceses, the Archdiocese of Kansas City, Kansas, the Diocese of Kansas City-St. Joseph, and Conception Seminary, have all in the meantime developed new ways and great ways to support these seminarians. So we encourage you to continue the support you've been giving us for these 27 years, but it will be in different ways from now on. We do hope in the future of our church, and priests bring us the sacraments. We need those sacraments. We need those priests, and we need to support those priests. So this support, this prayer, this encouragement that you have been part of for so long now, we're confident will continue and even increase, not decrease. Tonight we're going to have a virtual presentation. So we ask you to just sit back and relax and enjoy for the next 30 minutes or so these videos that we'll show, and a great raffle and a great evening. It's dedicated to St. Joseph, who sacrificed his life to be sure that the exquisite plan of God the Father would come about just as he ordered it. St. Joseph performed with great humility, courage, and best of all, with love.
Thank you. Abba, that was beautiful. And I love St. Joseph. They call him terrible demons for a reason. So I'm glad he's on our side. And I want to just piggyback in a moment what you were talking about, how the church brings us the sacraments. You know, as we know as Catholic Christians, there's two kinds of graces. There's actual grace and there's sanctifying grace. Actual grace, as we know, is where God gives us supernatural grace to do supernatural good actions. You know, Shakespeare once said, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And sometimes we need supernatural help to do supernatural good acts. But sanctifying grace, this is a different ballgame. This is the most potent form of grace known in the universe. And what it does, it'll help us grow from a normal human being to a supernatural human being. It helps us become supernatural beings. Well, what is sanctifying grace? It's a created share of God's divinity, where he infuses a share of his own divinity into our soul. And at that point, our soul becomes unspeakably beautiful and absolutely priceless. And this is what St. Peter was talking about when he said, we are partakers of the divine nature. And this is what Jesus was talking about when he said, I have come to give you life and to give it to you more abundantly. And There's been approximately over 100 billion people that's ever lived on planet Earth, but only one has ever had the supernatural grace to actually see a soul in the state of grace, to actually see sanctifying grace. And that was a woman. She was a doctor of the church, and that was St. Catherine of Siena. She actually got to see, say, for example, Abbot Benedict is in the state of grace. She got to see what his soul looks like. And she said and did two things afterwards. She said it was such a mind-blowing experience to see a created share of God's divinity that she said she would do anything to make sure that soul stayed in the state of grace. But the second thing she did is she started to kiss the ground where priests walked. And some people thought she had lost her mind. They said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "This is the vehicle that God has used to bring sanctifying grace into the world." And that's why we're doing what we're doing tonight, is to help create an army of young men that God can use to bring sanctifying grace into the world, to change us from normal beings to supernatural beings, and to help save our souls and everyone we love and everyone we know around us. And that's the ultimate goal of the church, is salvation of souls. So that's what we're here tonight. We're going to have fun. We're so glad you're with us. But we're also doing, which I believe is one of the most important things anyone can ever do, and that's help someone else make it to heaven. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we have planned for tonight. First of all, we're going to have some of the seminarians from the Kansas City, Kansas side share a little video with us. And then Archbishop Naumann will share a message with us. Then we'll go to the Missouri side, and we'll have some of the seminarians there share a message with us, followed by Bishop Johnston. Then we're going to go to Conception Abbey, and some of the seminarians there will be sharing with us. And then we'll have a few other ones. And then one of the highlights of the night is we have a raffle, and we're raffling off three big things. And I'll just give you a quick preview on that. The first one is an autographed football by the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. Then $10,000 cash. And the third one is a virus package, which basically is comprised of gift cards for groceries, restaurants, and even some plane tickets. So we have a wonderful evening planned. But in the meantime, if you want to help us out, you can go to www.supportourseminarians.com. That's www.supportourseminarians.com. And believe it or not, we're going to wrap this up in like 30 to 35 minutes, because we believe less is more. And speaking of more, we want to introduce our first video to you by Larry and Ruth Moore. And most of us know who Larry Moore is. He brought us the news here in the metropolitan area for over 30 years. And at one point he was called Mr. Kansas City because of his local prominence. But more important than that, him and his wife Ruth were at the very beginning of this wonderful event back in 1994, along with Abbot Marcel Rooney and also with Abbot Benedict. Is that correct?
And other monks from Conception were also involved in those early years.
So you guys have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting for a number of years. Yeah.
We've been enjoying this event for many years, yes.
God bless you guys. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's a message from Larry and Ruth Moore.
When we started SOS, we had three goals in mind: to raise awareness of the need for priests, to increase funding for scholarships for seminarians at Conception, and to find a way that our two dioceses and Conception could work together on a common effort.
When Conception approached Larry and me to put together a fundraiser, it was perfect timing because three great leaders, Abbot Marcel, Bishop Bowen, and Archbishop Kelleher, were behind our goals, and they had just come to take charge of the diocese and archdiocese and the monastery.
The first year, we had one seminarian from our two dioceses. A few years later, we had 27.
For 27 years, SOS has survived weather, deaths, and scandals to support our seminarians both financially and spiritually. We thank all the volunteers, supporters, clergy, seminarians, and the Lord for the success of Support Our Seminarians. May we all be blessed as we go forth.
Nice. I bet that brings back a lot of memories.
A lot of memories and a lot of gratitude, especially to Larry and Ruth, who really were the stalwarts that kept that going in those early days and attracted a lot of support and attention. So we're
God bless.
very grateful.
They were
to
like
them.
the catalyst that kind of helped get the
Yes.
ball rolling.
They knew the city and knew how to do this, and they taught us.
God bless you guys. Looks like you've saved a lot of souls in the process. So, and our next video is some of the seminarians on the Kansas City, Kansas side. And Abbot Benedict, you know better than most that it takes a lot of time and energy to help these young men help discern if they really have a genuine calling to the priesthood.
And that starts in the family. Doesn't start in the seminary. It starts in the family. That's really the
really
seed
quick.
there.
What do you mean by that?
The families that want to have priests for their children and grandchildren will encourage that even among their own children and grandchildren.
They'll always put it in front of them as an option.
As an option, and encourage it when a young man comes forward and says, "Dad and Mom, I'm thinking about this. What do you think?"
That's important to hear.
It really does begin in the family. The seminary builds on that and is an important part of it, but it isn't the beginning of the vocation. That happens a long time earlier.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, on the Kansas City, Kansas side, the vocation director is Father Dan Morris, and the directors of seminary and formation is Monsignor Mike Malloy and Father Scott Wallish. And we're going to hear a message from the seminarians on the Kansas City, Kansas side.
My twin was diagnosed with cancer at 2000. We were 6 years old, and just seeing the priest come and anoint my twin, seeing the parish really rally around him, was really inspiring to me.
My family was very intentional with me and my younger brothers as we were growing up. We're converts to the Catholic Church. Even though I don't know for sure that I'm called to be a priest, I recognized that there was enough of a desire to serve people in the way that a priest serves people that I needed to give seminary a try.
The Lord says to his disciples, "Come and see." And I wanted to follow him. I wanted to just step out in this act of faith. The one spirituality that I've kind of embraced in seminary is Mary's receptive way. Just letting the Lord unfold his story in my life. One of the biggest things that has impacted me is my dad's witness in my life. When I was young, he was the pipe organist at our local parish. What it meant for me when he would receive Jesus and then walk back to the choir loft to go play was impacting me so much without even me realizing it. That was something in seminary that I discovered.
I remember telling my preschool teacher that I wanted to be a saint when I grew up. She told me I kind of misunderstood the question, and I said, "Well, fine, I'll be a priest." Monsignor Ray Berger was the chaplain at St. James when I was there, and Monsignor was always an icon of the priesthood for me. He started the Magnificat Society at St. James. It was a discernment group. There was 12 of us that started, plus Monsignor, that he really wanted it to look like the apostles drawing together to form the church. So he grabbed us 12 young guys, and we got together after school once a week, and we prayed evening prayer together, and we just talked about the priesthood, we talked about the faith. And that's really where I found the camaraderie of, oh, this is a real thing. There are young men thinking of this. This isn't just me being a black sheep.
Even though seminary is a very good place, there are plenty of ups and downs. To know that I have the support of prayers from so many faithful in the Archdiocese and in the Diocese of Kansas City-St. Joseph is just a tremendous consolation.
To have the SOS, Support Our Seminarians group, it just takes all the pressures off to just be like, Lord, I'm here.
That's really what the call to be holy is. That's what the call to be a priest is too, that the priesthood is the love of the heart of Christ. I entered seminary because I wanted to be a priest. I wanted to be a spiritual father, and I stayed in seminary because I found Jesus. He took my heart in seminary and he conformed it to his. And that's the only reason I stayed in seminary.
Thank you so much for participating in this virtual Support Our Seminarians event. This has been such an incredible tradition within the Kansas City community to come together, Conception Seminary, as well as the Diocese of Kansas City-St. Joseph and the Archdiocese of Kansas City and Kansas, together to support the young men that are aspiring for the priesthood. We're so blessed with the leadership of Martha Hodes and Larry Moore over the years that they had the vision to start this event. And at the time, there were very few men in the seminary for both of our dioceses. Today, fortunately, those numbers have dramatically changed. But it's just not the numbers, it's the quality of the young men that are open to a call to the priesthood. Our priests are so important. If we have good pastors, good leadership, our parishes and our ministries, our schools all thrive. So thank you for your love for our church, your love for Jesus, and your love for our priests and our seminarians. Thank you for being part of this tonight, this great tradition of coming together as a community to celebrate the priesthood and to encourage those men that are considering a call to God's priesthood. Thanks. God bless.
Boy, it really is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Really is.
This whole SOS.
Yes. And it not only was good for all the people to see the seminarians who would come up on stage at the kind of the dramatic moment of the evening, but it was very good for the seminarians to see all those people and to know they had that support behind them.
That makes a difference.
It does.
It really does.
It really does.
And so for all you that's helped them throughout almost 3 decades, thank you so much. And a special thanks again to Father Dan, Monsignor Mullen, and Father Scott. Your work is definitely bearing fruit. Now we're going to go to the Kansas City, Missouri St. Joseph side. And the man responsible for helping the men discern their vocation there is the vocation director, Father Adam Johnson. And we're going to hear a short video from the seminarians on the Missouri side now.
For me, it's all about a relationship with Jesus Christ. I think one of the ways that I've developed this relationship with Jesus is through the practice that the church gives us with devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
I decided to become a seminarian because I love to help others, and I feel that God was asking me to help others, to help His people.
So after kind of like a little battle with the Lord, and after I felt called to come to seminary and see if God was calling me to the priesthood, I was resisting it and just truly wondering if I was called.
I heard a priest tell me once that the reason the Sacred Heart devotion is so special for the priesthood is because the priests are the ones who are most intimate with the Eucharist, that is, the actual Sacred Heart of Jesus.
I feel like God is pushing me to help, first of all, my family, my friends, and of course, all the people, to encourage them to pray, to be holy, to become closer to Him.
A devotion to Our Lady, I think, is so important for seminarians because, you know, we're away from our families, we're away from our friends, but she's the mother that's always going to be with us. She was the one that helped me take that leap to come here. And I'm definitely going to preach about her and have the faithful grow in devotion to her.
I mean, it kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about it, how, you know, someday in the future, God willing, I'm going to be up on that altar and I'm going to say, this is my body, and I'm going to be holding a piece of bread that will suddenly become the body of Christ. And it's going to be the Sacred Heart itself in my hands. And that's something that, God's gonna allow me to do and then allow me to share with others.
I noticed that God is always by me, and I'm able to do many things. And of course, with God's help, I have noticed what I'm capable of.
And Mary's the one who helps me give my life to Christ and put him in the center of it. And I'm very thankful that she's there to help me.
And I think I owe a lot of my vocational call to the Sacred Heart because I first felt a desire to serve others, to give my heart to others. And I realized that I couldn't just give my heart to others because there's nothing special about my heart. And so that's why I really started to pray about the Sacred Heart, because I want to be able to give our Lord's Sacred Heart to others.
I think I'm still working. I need to be able to do more, and I'm trying to do my best to reach my goal, to bring my family to heaven, to bring my friends, all the people around me to heaven.
And I have that desire to help those people entrusted to me, to bring them to Christ, to help them feel that love He has put in my heart, the happiness and the joy that He has given me.
There are many ways that the Lord can call a man to seminary, like through devotion to the Sacred Heart or the Blessed Virgin. And the road that Christ calls us down is different for every one of us. And for us three, it all ended up in the same place, Conception Seminary.
It is important to keep in mind that one of the most important things here as seminarians is our relationship with God. But we depend on your support as well.
Your guys' prayers are so important to us. It is what sustains us spiritually, but we also rely on your generous financial support. With that said, please continue to pray for us, and also be assured of our prayers for you.
We very much appreciate your past support, and we hope that it will continue as we journey down this road that will hopefully lead one day to us being priests, serving at God's altar. For this and more, we say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, when I arrived in the diocese, one of the great things I inherited was a really good culture around vocations and a support of vocations. That was manifested in so many ways, and one of the annual events that really highlighted that has been the Support Our Seminarians event every year, and I've always looked forward to that for a number of reasons. It pulled together so many of our people from various parishes, pulled together 2 dioceses and an abbey. It pulls together seminarians from 2 dioceses as well. So it was really an event that had so many positive things associated with it. And it was one of those things that was always charged with a lot of good news. The good news being young people responding to the Lord's call. And good news is contagious, and it inspires. And the SOS event every year was a way for us to just share really good news and to hear personal stories from so many of the young men that are becoming our future priests. We've been so blessed by the generosity of those who began this great event in 1994, and many of those same people have sustained it until now. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for the leadership that's been behind this event, but thank you for all of the lay people, priests, our seminarians, all those who have been a part of this event and have made it so special. It's such a blessing. This marks a time, first of all, to look back and be grateful, but also to look forward as we move into the future on ways that we can continue to support vocations to the priesthood and support those who have already said yes. So I want to just express my gratitude and my enthusiasm as we move into the future to be creative as those men and women were back in the mid-90s, to be as creative as they were in finding ways for us to respond to the Lord's call and to support those who respond to the Lord's call. God bless you, and thank you for all you've done.
Beautiful. What'd you think, Abbott?
Well, I would reiterate his gratitude to the many people over those 27 years who donated not just their funds, but their time and their energy and their creativity to making that such a successful event. And I also would reiterate what he says, that creativity will continue because that need continues. And it will find new forms, as it always does. And those will be good forms too, and they will be positive, good news, as it has been in the past.
That's good.
I'm confident of that.
That's good. Yeah, and I liked what the bishop said when he said they're creative. They thought outside the box, you know, do something different. And when you're saying the Spirit's going to continue to lead people to do that, as long as we're open to it.
Yeah, it will.
Because that was a pretty big endeavor to think about, let's get both dioceses together instead of separate, and let's get together as a team. And, you know, you can just feel the energy after almost 30 years. So thank you to everyone who supported them for all these years, and Father Adam Johnson and for Bishop Johnston. And now, for one of our last videos, we're going to hear from the seminarians at Conception Abbey. And what the vocation directors do at the diocese, Conception Abbey takes to the next level. And Father Victor and his formation staff, they walk every day with these young men and help them to grow in their faith and in their studies. And we're going to get a light sketching of the difference these men are making in these seminarians' lives. And now here's a message from the seminarians up at Conception Abbey.
What we want to do is we want to help them grow and mature into responsible men who can be pastors.
God willing, if I'm a future priest, I hope to let people know how truly loving and merciful God is.
God willing, I become a priest. The type of priest I want to be is one that's there for his people, able to answer questions and be there for them whenever they need. You know, priests have the opportunity to be there for the most beautiful and hardest moments of people's lives. So I want to just be somebody that's available to love my people and to allow Christ to love through me.
We want them to be like Christ. And so we carry on that work. We try to be shepherds to them.
I think one of the priests in our diocese, he was actually our former vocation director, Father Gail Hammerschmidt, who just was in constant contact with me and really talking to me about the vocation of the priesthood and really giving it a shot for God.
I first thought of becoming a priest when I was in junior high. It has been something that has been off and on my mind since then, all throughout high school and into college.
One of the things that really draws me to the priesthood is the idea of really entering into the people's lives and helping them grow in their path of holiness to God, especially through providing the sacraments of the Eucharist, reconciliation, and baptism along that journey.
And so to see these guys mature, develop, come to greater understanding of who they are and who God is, that's that moment of being a proud father and seeing your son become a man.
Conception has made such an amazing impact on my vocation because this place offers a sense of silence, stability, welcomeness to freely allow me to listen to the voice of God and be present to where He's calling me.
One of my favorite things about Conception Seminary is the presence of silence here at the seminary. Here we can discern God's call with a clear and open mind, away from all the distractions that we may find at home. The Benedictines put silence in their liturgies to help us remind us to discern every moment of our lives, and is this blessing of the Benedictine spirituality that nurtures our spiritual life as seminarians.
I can honestly say that I don't regret my decision in the least. In my 2 years here, I have grown so much. Growing in virtue and striving for sainthood is the thing that every seminarian desires, and it is beautiful to be surrounded by others with the same goal. So I am very grateful to CSC, my teachers, my formators, my seminarian brothers, but also to you. All of your prayers and financial help have helped me to get this far. I will forever be grateful.
A big thank you to everyone who is joining us in supporting our seminarians. The SOS has been a big event for us over the years, and we've seen it take many forms, but it always has been very edifying. It builds us up to see the kind of support that you want to offer. And so we thank you all very much, and you remain in our prayers as we pray that God will continue to bless you and bless you in these men in the future as priests for the dioceses.
What are your thoughts, Abbot?
Well, as the video, all the videos point out, the seminarians are the focus, but the people who help them, the vocation directors, their formators and teachers in the seminary, they have a big investment in it, in the success of these guys as well. They also deserve our prayers and our appreciation. But it's a church effort. It's a huge effort to train them, to encourage them, to support them, and to thank them. Not just the seminarians, all those other people involved in that great work, that important work, essential work in the church. And we saw some of those people, heard the names of the vocation directors, and they're important ones to also pray for.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Father Victor, and your entire staff that do so much behind the scenes that no one ever sees. But God sees it, and so God bless you and keep the hard work. And we have one of our last videos, and this is just to give you an idea of all the people that's helped to make this event happen this year. Boy, Abbott, that's amazing. And that's just the people who helped out this year.
Multiply that times 27.
Jeez.
And you get an idea of how many people have been involved throughout all these years. And really the volunteers and the supporters over all these years are amazing people. So this event has brought forth all kinds of goodness in the Church of the two Kansas cities that we're really grateful for. I can remember back in the early days we had a silent auction as well as an oral auction. Hundreds and hundreds of items to auction off. And Rosalie O'Connell and Kathy Hazuka and Martha Hodis working day and night to get that all prepared for that evening. And every year since, a whole crew of people would come in to set the tables and get everything ready for a wonderful, enjoyable evening. So many hours of work from many, many people, and if I started enumerating them, it would take all night and I'd probably forget one or two. But I do want to especially mention Martha Hodis, and everybody will know who I'm talking about because she has been basically the executive director of SOS for most of its life. And she deserves our special gratitude and honor.
God bless you, Martha. It's people like you that do so much that make this kind of stuff happen. And we're going to start with our raffle, but before we do that, listening to you talk, Abbott, it kind of reminded me of that, back in the day, they would build these incredible cathedrals, but no one ever knew who would do it because the people that did it didn't care if they were recognized. All they knew was that they wanted to do God's will and help build his church. Mm-hmm. And I feel like listening to you talk, that's what's happened. They'll never find out who these men and women were that built these incredible cathedrals. We don't know their names.
And that's not why they did it, to
right.
get recognition.
Exactly. And I'm thinking that's what's happened here. The men and women you've talked about that we don't have time to name, we'll never know. But God knows.
God knows.
And that's what counts.
And they know.
And they know. So God bless you guys for all you've done. And you can go, once again, please help us. You can go to www.supportourseminarians.com. That's www.supportourseminarians.com. And please hit that donate button. Don't forget that. Or if you're not crazy about getting on the computer, you can send a check to Martha Hodis. You guys all know who she is, I think. And her address is, she said to give it out, so I'm going to give it to you. It's 11312 King Street, Overland Park, Kansas, 66210. Or you can just give her a phone call. That's right. She says we can give her number out. It's 913-207-9893. 913-207-9893. Now we're going to go right to the raffle. And if you remember, I said our first raffle, we're going to raffle off a signed autographed football from the Honey Badger, Tyrann Matthew. And I'm actually going to do something and actually let you guys take a look at this thing. Lamar Hunt, the Kansas City Chiefs, actually donated this to us. And you can see it's Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to toss it to Abbott here. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So he's going to pull out a name right now of who our winner is going to be. And that's behind me, isn't it? Yeah. So.
Chadwick.
Is
that okay?
That's
Chadwick
awesome.
won the football.
Awesome. I bet he's excited about that.
One of the seminarians is Chadwick. Is that his dad? Okay.
Okay, you want to hold on to that for a moment? Okay, so that's the football. And that is so cool. Thank you, Lamar and Kansas City Chiefs, for donating that to us. The next is that's this one, I believe. This is for, are you ready for this? $10,000 cold cash. So here we go.
Appropriately green-colored
Martha's so good, isn't she? That was her idea. It's mixing it up. So,
Gutek. Dr. Philip Gutek.
Awesome. That's great.
Okay, you're $10,000 better than you were earlier today.
We'll put that right over there. Thank you, Abbott. And for the final and third raffle, this is a virus package. That's right, it's a virus package, which includes gift cards to grocery stores, restaurants, and even plane tickets. So that's a fun one. And I'll let you pick that one too.
Therese Drummond. Woo! Therese Drummond.
Therese, these are just some of the things you won. Like I said, gift cards to restaurants, and even plane tickets. So God bless you. Put that back there. And let me see, you think that can fit? You know what, I'll just put it over here so we don't do it. So thank you guys for helping out and donating. And as we begin to wrap up here, we want to thank so many people that have made this happen for the last 28 years. We want to thank, of course, Abbot Benedict for all your help, Martha Hodis, who's actually in studio with, actually in the parish with us right now, Rosaline O'Connell, Eddie Malloy, and then, of course, Father Mike Hawken, who's the pastor of the parish that we're in right now, Nativity. This is a beautiful church, and for all the help he's done with that, and of course, Nancy West, and so many other people that we don't have time to thank. But thank you for...
Dominic, can I make a comment? Eddie Malloy is a police officer, and from the very first event, he volunteered to serve as a security guard for us. And so he was at each event, but in his uniform as a police officer, as a security guard for us. Volunteered, donated his time.
Thank you for adding that. I didn't realize that.
Great guy.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as we begin to wrap up, I just want to share some closing thoughts about how important it is, what your support is and what we're doing and why we're doing it. We know life, if you bottom line it, it's all about loving relationships. That's what life's about, starting with our relationship with God, and out of that love for God, loving our fellow man. And how do we love God? Well, it tells us from our basic catechism is our whole purpose in life is to know, love, and serve God in this world and be happy with Him forever in the next. And you notice this in that order, to know, love, and serve, because we really can't love someone that we don't know. So once we get to know who God is, we'll just naturally fall in love with Him. And once we love Him, we'll naturally serve Him. And once we serve Him, we'll want to be with Him for all eternity. And that's the whole purpose of life. C.S. Lewis, many of you probably know who he is. At one point, and he may still be, he was the most popular Christian author in the history of the United States. And for those of you who don't know him, he was an atheist. And he said he had two conversions. One from atheism to theism. There is no God, that there is a God. There's one God. And then his second conversion was from theism to Christianity. And he has a famous quote I love. He said, "The people who make the biggest difference in this world are the ones that have their hearts and their minds in the next world." The people who make the biggest difference in this world are the ones that have their hearts and their minds in the next world. And as human beings, flawed as we are, it doesn't come natural to us. For me, I have to battle, I have to fight every day to keep my heart and my mind in the next world. And that's why we're called the church militant. We're here fighting for heaven, for ourselves and for others. And I want to close with you with a story that I heard Father John Ricardo say. It's actually a year ago, my wife and I went on our very first cruise after 27 years, and it was the Catholic conference cruise. And Father Ricardo was the keynote speaker. And he started the conference out by talking about the movie Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know if any of you have seen it. But very quickly, it's a story about, true story, about a young man whose dad fought in World War I. he came back with PTSD and basically became an alcoholic. And long story short, he would beat on him and his brother and his mom. And at one point in the movie, he talks about how his dad was beating on his mom and had a gun and was about ready to kill her. And he ran in there, grabbed the gun from his dad, and came that far from pulling the trigger. But it scared him so much, he promised that he would never, ever touch a gun again because it brought the worst out of him, and he wasn't sure how far or how dark it would take him. A few years later, World War II breaks out, and he wants to fight for America, but he doesn't want to use a gun. And so he wants to go in as a medic, which he does, but long story short, it's worth seeing the movie. He gets a lot of abuse, he gets beat up because the guys all think he's a wimp, which he's not. Long story short, the scene that Father Ricardo showed was a scene on Hacksaw Ridge, where the men are all up there fighting and he's a medic, and they're just getting destroyed. Most of the men are dying, and they all retreat. And there's a scene in there where as all the men were retreating, you can see him, he gets down, and he's on his knees, and he almost starts crying, thinking, God, what do you have me here for? I thought I was supposed to save lives. And here's what he says. He says, God, what is it that you want of me? I don't understand. I can't hear you. And just then, he hears someone yell, medic, medic. And he stands up, he puts his helmet on, he says, okay, let's do this. And he says, God, help me just get one. Help me just get one. Without a gun, he goes right into the midst of the battle, he saves one. And he gets another one. Long story short, he spends the whole night, each time saying, Lord, help me get one more. And at the end of the night, he saved at least 75 men. His son would later on say it was closer to 100 men. And I think that's our job. As powerful it is to save a life, it's even much more powerful to save a soul. And that's what we're doing here today. We're asking you to help us save souls by having God create an army of young men that will bring sanctifying grace into the world, that will help transform us from normal beings to supernatural beings that can eventually fly into heaven. And there's 3 ways you can do that. Please pray. Pray for the seminarians, and pray for the young men that are called to the priesthood. The second is, going forward, as Benedict was saying, that we need new creative ways to help with this mission to save souls. And find ways, be open to the Holy Spirit of how He can direct you and use you. And the third way is to please give financially. And you can go to www.supportourseminarians.com. That's www.supportourseminarians.com and hit the donate button. And you know, it's easy to think all or nothing. You know, if I don't have $5,000 or $10,000 to give, why should I give anything? That's not true. You can give 50, you can give 100. Do you guys know what a widow's mite is? You know, widow's mite, you think it's a penny? It's 1/8 of a penny. And when the woman dropped 1/8 of a penny in, what did Jesus say? He said, see that? She gave more than these wealthy people. So even if you can give $5, $10, whatever, pray about it. See how God wants you to help. Whether it's praying, whether it's volunteering, or whether it's giving financially. It's greatly appreciated because you are actually doing one of the most important things we can do while we're living and breathing on this earth, and that's helping save souls. And Benedict, would you like to say anything in closing before we wrap up with one more video?
Well, if you're looking for a job working in a seminary, Dominic, I know a good seminary. You're a budding theologian, more than budding, a very fine theologian. It's been great to be with you this evening and to work with you to help our seminarians, all of our seminarians, prosper and increase.
Thank you. Can I shake your hand again? I really appreciate all the work you've done and all the other people to make this happen for almost 3 decades. You won't know till we get to heaven to see, but yeah. God bless you. That's great. Okay. And would you close us with a prayer?
This is a prayer, again, to St. Joseph that was written by Pope Francis. I think it's very appropriate for this occasion. Bless, O St. Joseph, the Church, beginning with her ministers. Make her the sign and instrument of your light and your goodness. Accompany, O St. Joseph, our families With your prayerful silence, create harmony between parents and their children, in a special way the youngest. Preserve the elderly from loneliness. Grant that no one might be left in desperation from abandonment and discouragement. Comfort those who are most frail. Encourage those who falter. Intercede for the poor. With the Virgin Mary, beg the Lord to liberate the world from every form of pandemic. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Father, Son,
Benedict.
Holy Spirit.
And last thing, we want to close with a video from the monks and the seminarians at Conception Abbey and the Seminarian College singing Salve Regina as they pay tribute for the last 28 years of supporting our seminarians. God bless you, and thank you for being with us.
Good night.
Salve